Grandpa's war medals, earned the day he got paralyzed saving his squad. When we spotted his old stair lift right underneath and smirked at each other, I immediately sat on it as my brother pressed some buttons until it jolted sideways with a loud crack and stopped dead. No, 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 no. Grandpa's stair lift was an ancient relic he'd had since the war, and we just destroyed it. My brother whispered, "He's in the bathroom. We need to fix this now." I hopped off and got to work, because if Grandpa found out, he'd kill us himself. I smashed the control buttons to reset it, but the whole thing screamed, system error, and lurched forward, nearly throwing me down the stairs. "This relic is possessed," my brother yelled. Then we heard it, the squeak of Grandpa's wheelchair rolling out of the bathroom. "He's coming," I hissed. My brother clutched his head. Grandpa killed 3 men with his bare hands in the war. We're so cooked, so we ripped the side panel off to get at the wires. But the second I touched them, they crumbled to dust in my fingers. "Why is everything falling apart?" Then Grandpa's voice boomed up the stairs. "What are you kids doing up there?" We froze. "Nothing, Grandpa." In a panic, I kicked the chair back toward its track to fix it, but the chair's rusted mount snapped clean off. We gasped as it broke loose and tumbled down the stairs, flying straight toward Grandpa. "Grandpa, watch out!" We heard a loud crash down below and covered our eyes. Sure, we'd just committed murder, but as we crept down the stairs crying, we found his wheelchair flipped over, smashed by the chair, and no Grandpa in sight. "We killed a war hero!" my brother wailed, but then I spotted movement across the room and froze. Grandpa was standing there with his arms crossed. "Grandpa, aren't you paralyzed?" He looked at us, then at the busted wheelchair, and sighed. "All right, you got me. I haven't been paralyzed since the war. I fake it for the disability checks." My brother's jaw dropped. "But the stair lift?" Grandpa shrugged. "Never used it once. Installed it for show. Thing's older than your dad." My brother wiped his tears, stunned. "So, we're not in trouble?" Grandpa grinned. "Not if you keep your mouths shut." My little brother and I were admiring Grandpa's war medals.
Good morning!
I looked the officer dead in the eye and lied. "My name is Jason King." Jason had gone missing 3 years ago, and it was the first thing I could think of that would keep him from calling my abused parents and telling them I had been caught shoplifting. Big mistake. They called Jason's family, and the second his mom saw me, she grabbed me and squeezed so hard I couldn't breathe. "Jason, I knew you'd come home, baby." I hugged her back. "Good to see you." Nobody asked a single question. They just took me home. I spent the whole ride there wondering how she could possibly mistake a stranger for her son. When we got to the house, the dad patted me on the back. "Welcome home, kid." I forced a smile. "Thanks, Dad." He didn't even ask where I'd been or what had happened to me, which made my skin crawl. At dinner, he set his fork down and studied my face a second too long. "You look thinner than I remember." I kept my eyes on my plate. Guess wherever I was, food wasn't exactly easy to come by. The mom's hand froze around her glass. "Let's not talk about that tonight." The dad nodded, but his eyes stayed on me for the rest of the meal. That night, I lay in Jason's bed with my eyes wide open when I heard her voice through the wall. He looks enough like him.
As long as he
answers to Jason, nobody ever has a reason to ask what happened to the first one. My whole body cold, then I heard footsteps. Door creaked open, and the mom walked in, arms crossed. "We know you're in him." I stared at her. "Then why'd you take me in?" She stepped closer. "Because Jason was troubled too, and we didn't handle it right. Things got a little out of hand." She reached out and ruffled my hair. "But if you stay and let us call you Jason for the rest of your life, nobody ever has to know we killed him. You get a new family, we get our son back, and no one ever comes looking for what we did." My insides turned to jelly, but there was nothing I could do but nod. I looked the officer dead in the eye and lied. "My name is Jason King." I was scrubbing window floor when mom choking a pregnant woman through the glass. My stomach dropped because 2 years out of prison, I'd promised myself I'd never look away from something like this again. I called 911, but her face was turning purple, and she'd be dead before they climbed 40 floors. So I pried the window open with my squeegee and threw myself inside. "Get off her!" The man spun around, and the woman crumpled to the floor, clutching her belly. He smirked and flicked open a knife, and I realized I'd brought a squeegee to a knife fight. I smacked my squeegee across his wrist, and the knife skidded under a desk. But he was twice my size, and he slammed me into a filing cabinet, knocking the wind out of me. "You should have stuck to cleaning windows, idiot." He drove his fist into my ribs, and my vision blurred as the pregnant...
Bro, come on, bro. Not cool.
Mechanic, my little brother and I were admiring Grandpa. I was scrubbing window, staring at me. An ex-con, a bloody knife, and an unconscious pregnant woman behind me, hands shaking. I put them up, and the tears came. I did the one good thing in my life, and it was going to send me back to prison. The cops cuffed me and started dragging me toward the door. "I'm the window cleaner." I called 911, the real guys on my rig, but they weren't listening. Then something thudded against the glass. The killer was back, white-knuckled on my rig, jabbing at controls he couldn't work. He'd panicked, shot up, and dropped right back to our floor. I pointed, and the pregnant woman's eyes fluttered open. She saw his face and screamed, "That's him! He attacked me!" The cops rushed to the window, panicking. He slammed every button at once, but the rig dropped out from under him. Ah! Then a loud plop from below. He laughed at me for washing windows, and my window rig killed him. Then the pregnant woman pulled me into her arms, calling me a hero, and a tear fell because someone finally looked at me and didn't see a criminal. I was scrubbing windows for... My mom wave finger told me, "No candy before dinner," so I screamed, "I'm running away," and stormed outside. But when I slammed the door, an old man I'd never seen walked over to me with a giant lollipop. "Hey kid, do you want to go to my candy factory?" He smiled and pointed at his white van covered in candy stickers. My face lit up and I instantly nodded, and we got in while I ate the lollipop. His hands shook on the wheel, and he grinned as we pulled out, and I remember thinking he was just so excited to show me his factory. He told me to grab whatever candy I wanted from the back and tossed a chocolate bar from his pocket. "We'll be there in 20. I bit in and smiled because Mom never let me eat chocolate in the car, so this guy was officially cooler than her. Suddenly my phone buzzed, but I hit decline because I knew Mom would make me come home before I saw the factory. 15 minutes in, I realized the streets looked different. Windows were boarded up, and I didn't see anybody on the sidewalks. I pressed my face to the glass looking for the factory. "Where is it? I can't wait to see it." He looked at me and licked his lips. "Just around the corner, buddy. Almost there." My stomach dropped in horror because I knew if he was dead, he couldn't take me to the candy factory. "Hey, wake up!" I shook him, but he slid down further. I called 911. "There's a man and he can't breathe. He's taking me to his candy factory, but I don't know where we are. Please come." Red and blue lights filled the street minutes later. Paramedics loaded the man onto a stretcher while a cop pulled me out. I watched him look at the old man's face, then cuff his wrist to the stretcher rail. My jaw dropped. He's my friend. I cried. He was taking me to candy factory. You can long time and narrowed my eye at the cop. So he was going to give me candy in the warehouse? My mom waved her finger, told me no candy for it. I took girlfriend to the shelter. A cat, praying it would save her life. Her therapist suggested a cat after months of watching her lie in our bed for entire days at a time. So we drove to the shelter and walked cage to cage until we found a scrawny gray cat pressed into the back corner, flinching at every hand that came near. A worker came up beside us. She's had a rough life, and I'm not sure she'll ever trust humans again. My chest went tight because that sounded like something a doctor might say about my girlfriend one day. My girlfriend nodded and pointed at the little gray cat. "I want her." I squeezed her hand. "Then she's ours." I spent the whole drive home praying this would go right so I could have my girlfriend back. For 2 weeks, the cat didn't make a sound and hid from us. Then one evening, I found my girlfriend cross-legged on the bedroom floor, the cat pawing at a shoelace, meowing every time she stopped moving it. She looked up, beaming. "She wants to play." I crouched down next to them. "Look at you, cat whisperer." She actually laughed, and for a second, I let myself believe we were turning a corner. The next day, her phone rang, and the cat bolted under the bed, refusing to come out for 2 full days, no matter what we tried. My girlfriend sat on the floor outside the bed frame every night, talking softly into the dark space underneath it. On the 3rd morning, I found her crying at the kitchen table. What if she never trusts me? What if I'm not enough? I pulled a chair up next to her. "You're enough. She just needs time." I didn't tell her I'd been asking myself that exact same question about her for a year. I came home the next afternoon to a completely silent house. "Babe," no answer. My whole body went cold because I thought she might have finally given up and taken her own life. I ran through the house bracing for what I might find, but in the bedroom, I found my girlfriend and the cat asleep on the bed together, her arm draped over the cat, both of them smiling at whatever they were dreaming. For the first time all year, the fear of losing her faded away. I sat on the edge of the bed, slid my fingers around hers, and measured her ring size before I slipped back out of the room to shop for engagement rings on my phone. I took my friend and I were spinning our class pet Hammy's squeaky wheel when our teacher stormed over and slapped our hands away. "I'm so sick of you kids. I'm going to send Hammy to die because of you." The class gasped and kids started crying because Hammy was the school's oldest hamster and everyone loved him. A boy pointed at the wall. "You can't. The sign says no animal cruelty," but she rolled her eyes. "I don't care about the damn sign." The recess bell rang and she smirked. "I'll take him after recess, and it's all your fault." As she walked off, everyone sobbed, but I climbed onto my chair. "Everyone chill. I have a plan to save him." I pulled a bottle of baby oil from my backpack. "We'll need this. Go grab the school glue." A kid stared at me. "Ayo, baby oil and glue? What kind of plan is this?" I smirked. "Just trust me." I lifted Hammy's cage while everyone squeezed mountains of glue underneath, then set it down until it wouldn't budge. Then I poured oil all over the bars so she'd slip if she grabbed it. A girl chewed her nails. What if this makes her hate us more? I wiped my hands. "But she won't be able to take him." Then I sent a kid to tell the principal to check on Hammy after recess. When recess ended, our teacher marched over and grabbed the cage. Time to... She reached for Hammy. again. Come here, you little rat. She yanked harder until the cage ripped off the desk, dumping glue and bedding all over her. She staggered up, shiny with oil and covered in wood shavings, screaming as the whole class shook in fear. You brats did this. Now I'm getting rid of all of you. She stomped toward us, but I calmly pointed at the no animal cruelty sign. If you tell the principal what we did, we'll tell him you went against school rules by trying to kill Hammy in front of 30 kids, and you'll be finished. I smiled. Or you can stay quiet and keep Hammy. She froze, oil and shavings dripping off her chin, and right then the door swung open. The principal yelled, "What is going on here?" She whipped around, plastered in glue. Nothing, sir. Just a tiny mess." He looked at the destroyed room, then at Hammy, safe in my arms. If you can't handle a hamster, you can't handle route. Put Hammy back on his squeaky wheel. My friend and I have been our a beautiful woman tapped my shoulder and asked, "Can you tell me where the bathroom is?" I smiled and pointed across the room. "Right over there." "Help! Help! He grabbed me!" She just started screaming before I even finished. And my face started burning hot because the whole bar was now staring at me like I was a creep. Even the bartender pointed straight at me. Are you harassing her?" I backed up with my hands raised. "She's lying. I didn't touch her. She asked me where the bathroom was." But the bouncer wrenched my arm behind my back and started walking me to the exit. She was sobbing into some stranger's shoulder, saying, "I just wanted to find the bathroom when he grabbed my chest." But as they dragged me past her, she lifted her head for half a second and gave me the smallest smirk. My chest went ice cold because none of it was real. But somehow every person in that bar had bought her sob story. So I clenched my jaw and swore she was getting away with this. I walked back into that bar the very next night with the perfect plan. The same bouncer who dragged me out was working the door, and I held my breath as I walked right past him, but his eyes slid over me like I was a stranger. She was posted in the same corner from yesterday, but she was already smiling at another guy, and I heard her say, "Can you tell me where the bathroom is?" My whole body went stiff because my plan would die